Welcome back to another fantasy video with me, JD. You're joining me for the round 5 review, where we put up a 1985. I think it brought us like 12 points close to the top 100, something like that, with a 1400 round rank. And we moved up to around 2000 overall. So, what we're out at 10k a few rounds ago, and we've kind of slowly moved our way in, which is good, especially given that this was one of the buys that I had more of those players on, including Dacos. And we're about to head into the buy where I don't have anyone because I am unfortunately not a Gorn owner. So the trades last week were Grundy and Jordan out for Marshall and and Closey was on field for that 94. And Marshall came in and got the captaincy. So some good trading there, but definitely a bit worried about the team value. I think having looked at some of the tools, I'm around 3,000 overall for team value. And I want to say this time last year I was like top 10 or 20 or something like that. So definitely the team and the cash gen isn't as good a place as it could be. And that's, of course, a worry when it comes to am I in a position to actually get a hat from here? So one of the things I'm figuring out, I need to figure out this week. And look, there's like three real obvious places where I haven't started players or didn't trade into them, and it's cost me. So not having Gone, not having Bonner, and there's a third one. Oh, like Jordan Clark, which isn't that big of a deal, but it's more that starting Dacos and LDU have kind of cost me a lot of money the other way. I think if I fixed up basically those three alone, it ends up being like 700k difference in price, which goes from being 3,000 to once again being like a top 10-ish team or even better. So close, but no cigar this year, and I think it will make chasing for a hat very hard unless like Bonner and Gorn both fall off basically as of right now, and some of these underperformers come back. Thankfully, LDU had his first ton for the year, and he's got a soft matchup in the Hawks this week, but I'm not optimistic from here on out. Just quickly going through what else we've got here in defense. Yeah, I mean, Sheasel's a gun, continues to be. I think he's an every week captain option, although I'm a bit worried about the Finn Mag tag this week. Whitfield's great. It must be D2 behind Sheasel, so good to have those two locked up. Dagos had the bye. Young continues to produce. Holding Massimo over Williams is absolute pain because I could have got an extra 90k back when I did it, which might have meant different trades this week. And I think it's cost me like 50 points over the last couple of weeks, which is pretty annoying when I'm only about 200 away behind top 100 to have lost points and money there as well, with Williams putting up the good score on the weekend. Traded out the wrong one for sure. Holding House, I think, worked out okay because even though he's on bye, at least he's still playing. And Hoare, hopefully, with now Salem out as well as Bowie, has a role in defense when he comes back, but we'll see. Moving into the midfield, Steele continues to be an amazing pick, and he's up there in consideration with Marshall for the VC come tomorrow night's game. Butters had a pretty good score. I think he's still very reasonably priced for those that don't have him and are looking for an option. Their fixture coming up is decent. Nick Martin played okay. He's getting more kick-ins now, which is good, and he'll get the DPP and move back into defense next week. LDU touched on, and then Yo's been good. Another one I need to move back into defense. McKercher disappointing with the rib injury. Sounds like he's a chance to play this week, but if he does, then all the more reason to trade him so he doesn't lose money. Sanders, I think, should bounce back after the weird Bevo being Bevo, and Roberts will be welcome back to the team this week. Sharp has the very nice matchup in West Coast, but he's getting towards maybe the top of what he's priced at, so it could be one that we look to trade out soon. And then Clark, yeah, very disappointing to just put up the 2. Came on and played for what feels like the better part of a quarter, most of a quarter, and just managed one handball, which is, yeah, get me out of him. It's just awful. Marshall Cherry, so it means I don't have a ruck on by last week or this week, which is great. And then, yeah, Flanders picked up a couple of weeks ago, I think. Yeah, and he's backed up with a 125, taking kick-ins, so it looks very promising. Should be right up there with Henny for F1. Powell had another good game this week, and Fisher's just been okay. I'm happy to keep holding him. Dempsey junked his way to a good score. Harley Reid looked very impressive, and happy to hold him for a fair bit longer. Wow, Dempsey's at 534. That's crazy. I was going to be able to start cashing in a couple of these rookies or a rookie in the mid-price to get some good premium soon, which is good. Upgrade season should be a bit of fun. Darcy Wilson we fielded for a 70, so kind of got pretty good on the rookie roulette there, although I didn't expect Harvey Thomas to put up the 81, so what looked like it could be a very disappointing pick after last week with the 15, backed up with the 81 now. So I think between the 100 and the 81 in his system, he should make a fair bit of cash over the next few weeks. If he gets up to 400k and we pay 250 for him, I think that's a pretty big win just given his profile. Cadman looks like he's about to top out at 400k as well, so he's one that we can potentially move on soon, and a bit worried about this matchup against the Blues. And then we get Heaney back this week. So what do I do with trades? Because I think the tricky thing for my team at the moment is, and I'll show you the trades that I've done in a second, or actually I might as well just start with them. I've currently got Clark and McKercher out to Graham and Garcia. And I think Graham is the really obvious one to bring in this week for anyone that doesn't have him. He's the fourth CBA mid-nut, rotation at Gold Coast, and he's got a couple of good scores in the system now. So, I mean, he's at quite an elevated price, but I think, job security looks pretty good, scoring looks pretty good. So, happy to jump on him, even though it's a couple weeks late. He's actually cost 6k to upgrade Clark to Graham, which is pretty crazy. And then, McKercher needs to move on. And the reality is, I think after this first trade, I maybe have 100k. And so what would I even move McKercher up to? I actually think the best mid-price that I don't have to move up from McKercher is to Williams, but I think I don't bring him back now, even though I with Sard and McGovern out, I can see him averaging kind of like 80, 85 and making a ton more money. I probably just stick off him, which is pretty tough, and just bank this money and try and shore up the cash generation. So Hoare's the one that isn't making any money, but I think there's a chance he's in next week. I guess the tricky part here is whether I go Garcia over Biggie over Comben, because I could go any of these. Garcia obviously just played the quarter and a half, and I think looked really good in it as a CBA mid. And I think there's a chance, just given how he played with being like that pressure midfielder that they could use, that I think Ross, really likes that. The worry with Garcia is that he's 18 and he looks small as well. He's got a slender frame still, which is obviously a worry for how long can that stay around in the midfield and actually last well. But they do have bigger bodies in there in Ross, Steele, and Windy that can kind of, I think, cover that a little bit. But it is, I think, the concern there that he's not mature. Biggie is one that I think you definitely could consider as well, and had a good game on the weekend, got involved in a bit of the cheap stuff, and has Hawks this week. The scrolling has the Hawks this week, so I think could back up with another big score. The concern is that Dawson, who he replaced, is 2 to 3 weeks away. He's 22. He's older than what I thought. Mature age, we like that. Dawson being 2 to 3 weeks away means he could maybe only have 2 more price rises before he loses his spot. So job security, I think, is a little bit of a risk there. Although, like, Core hasn't exactly set the world on fire as well. So, there's other options. You really kind of want him to last until that's in Kilda game, because I think you could get a fair bit of junk there. So he is definitely an option. And then you could go Comben as well. But I just think at his elevated price point, if I'm doubling down to short my cash gen, he doesn't really offer as much upside as the other two. So that's probably where I'm leaning at the moment. The only other option here is like if instead of Clark trading out like a Massimo, so I'd have an extra 200k on this 500. And so instead of like a Will Graham, I could go up to someone like 800, but I have to pass on Will Graham, which I don't like. So it could be on Garcia, it could be like 750-ish. So I could put it on to like Rankin or something like that. But I'm not really a huge fan of either of those moves. I think I just want to store this money as of right now, and then next week I can put it on, any of Fisher, Massimo, whatever, and get up to a really solid premium, and then do another trade with a rookie and fix that up. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't like taking a step back, but I think it will help me take steps forward. And I have a feeling that I don't think I'm a primo ahead of others, but because I think there's be some that have very similar team to mine, but then have Bonner, which is a bit tricky. But yeah, I think it does put me in a good spot overall. I think we're okay with it. So yeah, I think these are the trades for this week. It's just the thing with the teams here is that North isn't going to be announced. They play the last game, and Garcia plays tomorrow night. So if the North team gets announced and Biggie's on the bench, extended bench, not like named on field, then I think I'd just take Garcia and not risk any North buffoonery. Not that I think Biggie is a sub risk. He's just not the type that would make sense as a sub. But I think, yeah, just lock in Garcia and go with that. If he's not named a sub and going to get a full game, I think I'll just go there. Although I hate this, like, now in my team where you've got two Gold Coast rookies, you've got two Melbourne rookies, you've got two Saints rookies, and you've got two GWS rookies because you just can't loop them. It's just really painful. You do lose edge there. It's not something people think about, and it doesn't, because it doesn't happen that much, but it's annoying. So then in terms of like team setup for the week, because the Melbourne guys are on the bye, I can loop Graham and Massimo, which I'll do this week. I definitely think Close is an option that I want on field. In the midfield, I'm happy to field all of Roberts, Sharp, and Sanders. Roberts has got that half-back role, which has been amazing for scoring. Sharp's got West Coast this week, so as a winger, that's huge upside potential. And yeah, I think Sanders gets a full mid-game. We've also got Darcy Wilson here as the emergency. If for whatever reason he pops a really big score, I could go like a McAuliffe or something like that over Garcia to loop it on. I'm not sure I would, but it is something that's worth considering. He'd have to go really large, Wilson. To be honest, I'd just be happy if he gets more cash gen. Can't believe he's over 400k too. Yeah, there's a lot of guys here soon that we'll be able to combine for like 1.1 mil and get like a 900k mid and a 200k rookie, which is great because there are some guys that are starting to come down in price now. Uh, yeah, and then in the forward line, like Dempsey and Reed, I'm happy to keep fielding. They both Dempsey and Reed have shown the upsides in the best 18 weeks. I think I'm good with these two. I couldn't predict over Captain Thomas who's going to pop, so yep, we're happy with that. Vice captain this week, yeah. So I think it's between Steele and Marshall for me, and just given Marshall's the unique one, I probably just go again with the vice captain. I think it is tempting to put the C on Sheasel. Who's Whitfield got this week? Blues. We're not going there. But yeah, with Finn McGuinness, this is a bit of a worry. So I really hope Marshall comes off, and maybe I set my threshold for a captain as quite low this week because I feel like Butters would be the one I go to as a backup, and he's not like been in the best form. If you had someone like Sarong, that I'm obviously like really high on him this week against West Coast as a captain option, even though they have put attention into him in the past. But I don't love my captain option, so yeah, I'm really hoping Marshall crushes it this week for sure. All right, if you did have money to upgrade, what are the types of players I'd be looking for? So if you don't have Flanders in the forward line, I think he's a really obvious one still. If you don't have Dacos in defense, I think he's probably the most obvious one to get up to this week. If you don't have like a Yo or a Young, I guess you could look at them as well. But yeah, Dacos probably won't get much cheaper. And I like getting one trade ahead of the trade cycle. So I think for everyone that doesn't own Dacos, they're going to look to bring him in next week. So if you've already done that this week, it means you can get on to the next big thing and not have to worry about forcing that Dacos trade. In the midfield, look, I think you could look at Walsh definitely, given that he's sub 900k. Like the price point is very good, and the scoring potential is obviously there with him. But you know the injury risk is the other side of that, so it's something for you to worry about. Other options I like, I think Dunkley is a good pod. I've got him in Bolter. I've had him for a couple of weeks, so I think he's a good pod. Yet to go below 100, and I think he's building into the year pretty well, especially now that the Lions have found a little bit of form, although they've faced some of the easier mids, and it's not like he set the world on fire. So yeah, I think you could look at him as an option. Players like Bont are going to drop more, so I'm probably going to wait on him, but he's going to be a high priority upgrade in the coming weeks once this 53 goes through. Dawson, I wouldn't touch. Laird, I wouldn't touch. Petrarca, we've got a little bit more for him to drop, and he's going to be a very good option for us too. So, like, you know, going 886 at Walsh doesn't make a ton of sense when we're going to get Petrarca cheaper soon, I think. So then of these other top guys, yeah, Sarong I mentioned has nice matchups. Merritt's, like, I just don't pay this much for any player, but Merritt's fixture is insane. So he's been absolutely crushing it this year. I assume anyone that's jumped on him must be near the top of the rankings just on the back of him alone. So yeah, I mean, Sarong and Merritt, I think you're both overpaying for them, but their fixtures are nice, so I can see why you'd want to do it. I know some people will be looking at Noah Anderson. It's probably not my cup of tea. I feel like he's too inconsistent, even though he had a very good game against the Hawks. Like, this is a trash midfield, to be honest. So yeah, don't really like some of those options where there's lots of other guys in the midfield. Where's Goulden at? Has he still got more to drop? He might. I don't know what his break even's at. But I think their fixture now gets a little bit harder, so I'm not sure how much I love him. Like, they've got Hawks after this week, so maybe you could trade him from pre-Hawks. If he has a good game against the Suns, I think that's probably worth considering. And then, yeah, really not a ton else that I like. So, yeah, I think Flanders, top priority. Dacos is a good option. If you don't have any of the value guys, you can consider them. Otherwise, like, there's not, I don't feel like there's any obvious upgrades. Like, I'm not desperate to jump onto Walsh. I'm not going to force that. I don't have any defenders that I really need to get onto. Marshall and Cherry, I'm happy with. On the forward line, I guess, like, if you're looking for something a little bit spicy, and that was really the only place I think I could go with my trades, I get a little bit of spice going on. So could look at someone like Lukosius, who's put up a couple of good games in defense, and there's now some stories going on about his contract situation. You love a guy playing for a contract, so he's, someone you could potentially look at. Or Rankin here, who has now got extra mid time on the back of the last couple of weeks. Once again, please scroll up. So 106 with that extra midfield time, but he kicked 3 goals to get there, which is, not great. But I mean, I guess Carlton are hard to score against, so pay that, I guess. And then Essendon and Northern next two, pretty juicy matchups right there. So Rankin is the other one I could, if I wanted to keep upgrading, I could do so. But I think I sit out. I just try and fix the really bad rookies that I've got in Clark and McKercher rather than having to hold one to get rid of Mass. Rather hold Mass into the North matchup this week and hope that he kickstarts his cash in again. And if he doesn't, he goes next week. I can't see him dropping a ton. Famous last words, I know. But played more in defense as well, which I think should help his scoring. So, yeah, I mean, also from next week, I've got Martin, Yo, and Roberts all ready to move back into defense. So it's the type of thing where I get rid of him next week. And also, one of the reasons why I didn't want to bring back in Williams, I don't want another defender option that I then, have to play around and keep these mids for longer than I want to. So, yeah. All right. And then looking at the team, how many rookies we've got now? We've got 3 in the midfield, 1 in defense, 2. So we've got 6. Yeah. I mean, from this week on, we want to start chopping those down, I think, pretty aggressively. I think getting rid of 1 in the midfield makes sense. I don't think Closey and Graham keep up the scoring for that long, so getting rid of one of them sooner than later makes sense. And then Ollie Dempsey, I think, tops out soon, so it might be, I think, 1 from each line I still want to get rid of. The hard part is forwards. We don't really have targets here to go after. So, I mean, even if I could move Sanders forward for like a Dempsey and then replace him in the midfield, I think that probably makes sense. Sharp probably doesn't have too many days left numbered either. Roberts is the one I'm most happy to keep, and he probably ends up in defense. So I think after this week, we just start upgrading to midfielders. Who the number 1 targets will be, I think will be tough. But if Bont looks like he's going to stabilize his price sooner rather than later, for mid 900s or low 900s, that's going to be my guy. That'll be probably the top of my target list. But we'll see what happens. If Walsh looks impressive again, especially against GWS, that could be an interesting one to consider. But yeah, that's the team this week. If you think I should be doing different trades, avoiding the double downgrade, please let me know. Or if you think like Biggie's better than Garcia, or there's another target you'd prefer, please let me know as well. Otherwise, yeah, just a quick check-in for like more thoughts, especially on some of the rookies. You probably should check out the Supercoach video where I go into more depth on what I saw out of those, what I heard from the coaches. Otherwise, that's me for this week. Short one, but better late than never. And I'll see you soon. Peace.